Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the NFL Playoff Talk. My name is Paul Spencer. Of course, I'm with special guest Phil Haney. Phil, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, man. Excited to get into this weekend and talk a little bit about last weekend too.
Well, man, I know it's going to be a great show for you because your team survived, man. I mean, they're moving on, and my team, well, we don't really have to talk about that game if you don't want to.
Hey, man. You know where I stand. We talked about it a little bit last week, and
Yeah.
it came hurt for me too. So we can move right past it. You know what I mean? I got my family over for family dinner tonight. My sister's family and my brother-in-law comes in. He's like, "Hey, I know you saw that thing I posted. I've been waiting for you to get back at me." And I'm, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, it was Dak." I'm like, "Stop right there, bro. I block all that out, man, because it's always the haters coming out of left field off the top rope or wherever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Teams didn't even make the playoffs. Their fans coming in here trying to drop memes about the Cowboys and all that. So, you know, hey, if their team was 12-5 for the last 3 years and they made the playoffs, then maybe you could come at me. But none of them did.
That's so true. That's so true, Phil. It's like,
I got Commanders fans. Come on,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Exactly. The worst thing is, play on Sunday. A lot of teams, of course, the hate mostly comes from the Eagles fans. You already know that. And then playing on Sunday, you lose the game. All the memes come out. All the messages come to your phone. Your phone's dying because so many messages are coming in. And then Monday, you say, oh, well, you guys play on Monday. We'll see how it goes. Well, then the game's over, but you've been blocked or you can't reach it for some reason. It goes to voicemail. I mean, win, lose, or draw, you got to speak about your team no matter what, but you're used to it. You're America's team, all eyes on you. You love them, you hate them. You're hated more than you're loved, as the opposing fan, but it is what it is, Phil. Phil, let's get into it last week. Let's briefly go over the games last week. Wow. I had a feeling those Texans were going to win. I said the Texans here. I tell you what, Phil, they look pretty damn good for a rookie head coach, DeMeco Ryans. CJ Stroud is balling, and that defense, man, they're playing some ball.
Yeah, I mean, they came out and they didn't stop.
Yeah.
That was the thing. They just didn't stop, right? Like the Browns kind of kept pace with them. First, it was kind of close going into the half, and then after that, the Browns had nothing, and the Houston did not stop. So
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud has shown that it doesn't matter whether it's regular season, whether it's playoffs. This guy's ready to go. He's NFL ready, and I'm a little bit worried if I'm Baltimore about how confident that team is coming off of that win when everyone except for you, including me, was picking the Brownies to go down there and just handle business and show this rookie what playoff football is all about. I had Joe coming off the couch in the drop-off line, Flacco going down there and dropping that elbow off the top rope, Macho Man style, and it did not happen, So, yeah, I mean, hats off, right? I mean, we could go ahead and talk about that. Like,
just what you said, Bill. Yeah, just what you said. Joe Flacco from the drop-off kiddie line, the carpool lane there. I mean, playing great ball the last 4 or 5 games here, dropping 300 per week, looking good. Managing the game. Let's put it that way, managing the game. But he didn't have bad numbers, 34 for 46, 307. But we always talk about this, man. You can play good enough to win a game, but you can also play bad enough to lose a game. Those two picks, man. You can't play playoff football and turn the ball over. It's just not the way to play. But hats off to Houston, man.
Yeah.
Put the pedal down. The accelerator did not come off. They were on cruise control the entire game, but that wasn't good enough. They wanted more.
Yeah. And you see it's efficient, not necessarily stats that jump off the sheet, to you when you look at Stroud, 60 for 21, 274, but he had the 3 tutties. Singletary 13 carries, 66 yards, but he had the tutty, 5 yards a carry. Those are the things that start sticking out to you when it's a defense that was coming in pretty stout, and you start giving up 5 yards a carry. That opens up all kinds of things, right? Then you start giving up, interceptions and short fields and changing the field possession, and then, at that point, you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit too much against a team that's young and hungry and has nothing to lose.
Yeah, I told one of my friends, I was like, hey, he's a Cleveland fan. He's like, oh, we didn't get beat. And I was like, here's the thing. He's like, look at the box score. I was like, brother, you can't look at box scores in this game right now. You look at CJ Stroud's number, like you said, okay, 274, 45 points. You're really not going to think 274. You're thinking like 450, somewhere in that area. 3 touchdowns, I get. But just like you said, 5 yards to carry. The big thing in this game was field possession. They controlled the field here. It was flip the field, stop them on fourth down in their territory, get the ball 45-yard line. You're playing half a field for this entire game here. That's what this defense did. And we always go, everybody says, we always say it too, defense can win championships. This is exactly what won this game for them. That field possession, how they flipped the field, insane. And man, I tell you what, it's scary for being a rookie head coach, a rookie QB. And I think this takes away the Ohio State talk about non-QBs, I think, right? Finally, maybe CJ Stroud.
I mean, we'll see. We've seen how many guys come in and light the world on fire in one season, and then suddenly the league catches up to them. And I won't mention any names, blackball. Sit down to pee. Anyways, so, but we'll see a theme too. There's another team I think did the same thing in their game, controlled field possession, and really the defense dominated that part of the ball. But absolutely, that's what I was gonna say. You want to look at the box score? Let's look at the box score.
Yeah,
just did 2 interceptions. Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
That's it right there, right? That's what we talk about. I mean, you can sit here and we talk about it all, but we start to talk about the turnover battle, and that's what it comes down to.
And it seemed to me like all his yardage were playing from behind too. I mean, he had, you look at number wise, it's okay except for those 2 picks. Of course, he had 1 touchdown, not gratefully. That's only 7 points, but 34 for 46, not bad. Any QB rating there, but the 2 picks brought his QB rating down. But the biggest thing is that running game. 56 yards on 20 carries. I mean, 2.8 yards per carry. That's not going to get the game done. You look at that stat. Okay, this play line on first down. You're going 2nd and 7 basically the entire game here. 3rd and 7 the entire game here. You're playing from behind. Exactly. You can't play that way. You can't play that way.
That run game did nothing to help Joe Flacco out whatsoever. And so you could sit here and talk about interceptions, but why was he throwing the ball 46 times in a playoff game?
Exactly.
I mean, who you are. Yeah, Tom Brady didn't throw the ball 46 times in playoff game. Well, except for 28-3 probably. But you know what I mean? Like, you're not throwing the ball and being successful in the playoffs if you're throwing it 46 times. You're really not.
Yeah. And goes to say, like said earlier, it's playoff football here. I mean, defense is going to control the line of scrimmage here. If you got a solid defense and a manageable quarterback, which gave Cleveland that shot too. I'm not going to disregard them, but they have an elite defense. They could have pulled the same thing here, field possession game here, minimize the field, play short field, but it just didn't happen that way. I give so much credit to the coaching staff of the Houston Texans for coming in, doing their homework, and just pick what they give you and take it to them. And you know what, this keep the foot on the accelerator, go full.
Having those young men ready to go out there and play,
big time, big time.
I mean, that's how much of it comes down to that. We talk about. Talk about that game on Sunday that we don't really want to talk about so much. And I told you what I think about that man on the sideline, warm block of cream cheese.
Yeah. You're putting it lightly. You're putting it lightly now, I'll tell you that.
I mean, it's become, melted ice cream. But after that game, because you saw your quarterback wasn't ready for that, right? You saw that guy. MVP all season long was not ready to come out down 7-0 at home.
Exactly.
At the end of the world.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that one. Yeah, you're saying
came out and showed, and that's one thing I'll say. Okay, I'll give him that as an Ohio State quarterback. He came out in his first game, didn't crumble, did what he did as a home underdog, a team that was basically supposedly supposed to be tanking, right, for another top 5 pick, something like that.
Right.
And now here they are. You know what I mean? So it's some of it is coaching. And DeMeco Ryan, I mean, coach of the year, I think, no question.
Oh, you have to give it to him. I mean, first year, coaching here, comes from a defensive side of the ball. He goes down and gets Will Anderson. You get, CJ Stroud here. You're thinking like, okay, this is a project here. We're talking maybe 3-4 years. Build your team to the draft. Let's build. New coaches get that 4 or 5 year window here, Phil. And I tell you what, there is always a saying, playing with house money. But any better can play with house money at the table there. Win, lose, or draw. But I tell you what. This guy went all in right here and said, you know what? Hey, we're not picked to be here, but I got $1,000 on the table left over. That's all I got. That's my kids, school money, lunch money, wherever you want to say. I believe in my team. We're going all in right here. And you know what? Cash out at the end here because it was insane. It really was.
There's 3 teams. Look at this right now.
Yeah.
3 teams right now that were supposed to be mid-level rebuild. Well, one low, but the Bucks, the Packers, not supposed to be where they are right now. not supposed to be in the divisional round.
100%.
You look at Jordan Love, you look at Baker Mayfield, you look at CJ Stroud. Nobody was looking for those three guys to be coming, in the divisional round right now. So,
right. That's so true.
Yeah, I'm gonna be jumping ahead, but I'm sitting here staring at the graphics of these teams. I'm like, man, it just really dawned on me that you got these three teams playing with house money right now for sure going in this weekend. So.
A couple comments here. Joe Silva, you can check him out every Monday night. Sully Squad talking that he's an actual Eagles fan. You listen to their show, and I can't wait for this week to come up as well. Definitely going to watch that show. Box scores are so misleading in football. It's all about basically the eye test, 100%. I mean, you look at scores like this, you're thinking like, okay, man, it had to be like a close game, a 7-point, 3-point game here based on score wise, stat wise. But I tell you, one turnover in playoff football, man, can just like disregard anybody's winning the game or closing the game here. He says, do you think Cleveland wish they can go back in time and keep Baker, that Watson could cost so much assets and cap space? That's a great thing there too. I mean, it was Joe Flacco, you call him the cool the carpool guy. Was he rental for this year? Because I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to take that contract with the Deshaun Watson, what he was paid with the injuries. They went all in, and it was just, a mistake that's going to cost them the next 4 years, plus equity space, cap space, dead space, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. This killed them, this move.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I mean, without a doubt. And I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? But I think a lot of the league was standing there scratching their heads, wondering what they were doing and why they were going after Sean Watson when they had Baker Mayfield. And when they had finally got, Beckham Jr. out of there, who was not the best, locker room guy, and they were trying to change the culture, seemingly from the outside looking in, and to help Baker and to fit him in there. And it's been talked about ad nauseum, right? How he had that great playoff run, beat the Steelers, basically put the Steelers on the slide that they're on now, right? Goes in against Patty Mahomes, and it takes, against the Chiefs, and it takes a crazy play at the end of the game from the backup QB to convert that fourth down to seal the game, right? And then he gets hurt the next season. Well documented that he's injured. He's trying to play through injury as a leader, and I think that's something that maybe, I know it's a money industry, but sometimes, like, you look at Jacksonville, right? What would have happened to their season if they would have just made Trevor Lawrence take like 2 games off, right? Like, they lost him anyways, and they were still right there and could have won the last game of the season, and they would have been in the playoffs, right? So if you just make him take 2 games off instead of letting him play through injury the whole time, and then he can't really go, like, what happens then, right? Sometimes you just got to let your starter sit. You got to let him get to 100%. So whenever you need him the most, he is ready to go. You know what I mean? And if you look at what happened with Baker, he came back healthy, and he got put in a position where he could feel good about himself, and it's made all the difference in the world. And he's talked about it openly. It really started out with McVay out and with the Rams, and it started there. And the relationship they had, and how he just kind of let him be himself.
Yeah, that's a great point what you said. Regarding playoff, or not even playoff football, quarterbacks that are hurt. You had a 3-game lead in a division as Jacksonville Jaguars. You play Trevor Lawrence. You got, what, you win, you lose one or two or 3 of those games. You still pretty much got a lock and a handle on that division. Look at it the long term. Look at the tunnel, at the light of the tunnel, and say, wow, we're going to get Trevor back healthy, not hobbled. Because when he played those last 3 games, he couldn't run. He couldn't throw. He was hobbled on that ankle, of course. But the one thing I want to say about Baker real quick, you look at Baker, Joe said, I'll put this comment up there real quick because I wanted to mention that too. We'll talk about comeback player of the year, which I definitely believe he is 100% getting that award. But the one thing you look at Baker, I have a friend who's a Tampa Bay fan, and he's a Baker Mayfield fan, put it that way, all throughout. He was mentioned, he was like, Baker is not that good. I was like, let me explain something to you. You go back of his, high draft pick coming out of Oklahoma, Heisman Trophy winner, all the hype. You can't really live up to that hype. How many quarterbacks have done that, number one? It's hard to do. Then you go to Cleveland. How many OCs did he have to go through? A new verbiage, a new OC scheme, basically every year. And it was twice where it was Stefanski and the other guy, interim coach versus head coach, fired, back and forth there. You can't get a chemistry with no OC that you don't know if he's going to be there next week.
8 head coaches alone.
Exactly. Yes.
Talk about the OCs that came and went during that time as well. Okay. He's now on his 8th head coach, 4 alone, just in his couple of seasons a few seasons in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can have an indictment on a quarterback all you want, but if you don't have a system and if you don't have something that's secure for him to come in and be successful in, how is that on the quarterback? How is that on the player? When your system and your franchise is the one that dropped the ball.
That makes sense to me. Exactly what you said about Sean McVay out there. It's a system. It's a family system out there. You go out there. He's a veteran, head coach that's been out there. The team trusts him, believes him. They bought into the system. You go out there. What do you play that game 6 days after he got signed and lit up the game on Monday Night Football? Well, I understand that's luck a little bit. I will give him a little bit of luck there, but that's called doing your homework and putting a quarterback in a system that says, hey, we're not asking you to do A through Z here. How about we do A, B, C? If we get to D, E, F, we'll do that. And that's what it means so much to have a good coach and an OC. But, man, I tell you what. How about we move on to the other game here? Wow. The -30 Winfield game here. Kansas City 26, Miami 7. You said this one. I actually was thinking about taking Miami here, which I was kind of on the fence, but running game versus running game. But Miami did not have a running game, Bill.
No. I was shocked. So I got to be honest. So Saturday, I also hockey's a big thing. So I tailgate with one of our big fan groups. So we had a game, and so I didn't get to watch. It's all box scores for me and highlights, honestly, for Saturday. But I was very surprised at just the game plan. Again, it almost felt kind of like an Eagles kind of situation, going back to what was the identity, what was their idea, what was their strategy, how were they really going to play that game, and why they don't rely on their strengths more and getting those two guys in the backfield the ball in space to help and that passing game entirely. It seems, I mean, it's not easy being a coordinator in the NFL, but sometimes when you have these players and you've seen the success, it seems counterintuitive what some of these guys do when they get out there. They outthink themselves or they try to get too cute. I don't know. You worry about the other team scheming for you, but there's an old thing my grandpa said, and it's dance with the one what brung you. All right. You tweak it, and maybe, it's something a little bit different. Maybe it's a different dress than the last dance or whatever, but it's the same thing that's been getting you to the dance every time, right? You can't change it up that much and just go away from it because you're scared that someone's going to out scheme you. And that's what I felt like we were seeing kind of in that situation. And then going into Cleveland, it's really hard to go into that scenario. It's that cold. It's that stadium. It's that fan base. It's that coach. It's that quarterback. You know what I mean? If that game is not in Kansas City, if that game's in Miami, then we probably see something that we, more of what we see out of Miami normally. But at the same time, teams have been doing it for decades, going into cold weather places and winning on the road. You can't make an excuse. You still got to go out there and game plan and execute. And that game was winnable. Matchup wise, on paper, stat wise, player wise, personnel wise, coaching wise. That game was winnable for Miami. It just didn't seem like they came out and felt like it. And maybe that cold hit them a little bit different than they were really expecting. But you see them all bundled up. I get it.
I get it too. Just like Joe said, I knew Miami was done when I seen Tua all bundled up. I mean, I understand you're playing at 80-degree weather. You live down in Florida, Phil. Yeah. You know the weather. You come up to my neck of the woods where we got 8 inches of snow last night to today. You're going to feel some type of way. But brother, we're professionals, and you know what this is all about. But the running game, there was clearly no running game. I just don't understand this when. Most are 8 touches for 33 yards. I'm not going to discredit Kansas City's. Spagnuolo had this defense rolling and playing. I'll give them that 100%. But your second ball carrier was 2 of 3 for 25, who doesn't run the ball ever throughout the season. Waddle, 1 carry on a sweep, 9 yards. That was fine. That's a gimmick play. But A-Chain, 6 for 9. I don't get that. I don't. And Jeff Wilson got 1 carry for 6. Miami's built – I don't know what they are anymore because I'm going to take away playing in the cold. It does take away a lot of speed on that field. You're playing like an icicle, of course, but game planning, I bleed the well to what I do all season long, man. If it works, I'm in the playoffs. I ain't changing a damn thing. I'm going to continue to run, play action, put Hill in situations where I know he's going to create a mismatch. I don't know what Daniels was thinking. I really don't this game.
I mean, they basically all of their playmakers are designed to get the ball in space.
Thank you. Space, yes.
And it's freezing ass cold.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to tackle. Everyone else is a little bit slower. It's on the writing's on the wall, right? Like, do what you're good at. Get your players the ball in space and make them tackle you in the freezing bitter cold.
I was telling my buddy, we were talking about it. We were not, we didn't have any, hold in this game here. Of course, not fans of the teams, but we were talking about it back and forth. It's exactly the word you said. You try to get your wide receivers in space. It's a space eater team, a level team, on a secondary level, low, field battle. And I told my buddy, I was like, maybe we look at it differently. We think, okay, Miami is a space-eating team. You've got to create space for these wide receivers, get the open back in space, out of tackle, off tackle, whatever. But he brought up a great thing, and I want to hear what you think about this. He said to me, he's like, well, you're not going to throw the ball downfield. It's cold. You can't get space, number one. So they bring that extra guy in the box. They're basically playing 11, not in the box, with a one safety, free safety. So you're basically playing 10 guys in the front 10 yards, basically, there. Nobody plays that with Miami because they know they get speed behind them. So they were thinking, he was telling me, he was like, think about that. When you're not going to throw the ball deep, advantage cold weather team, of course, which we said, because you're not creating space for these wide receivers. But if that's me, I'm an OC. And I tell you what, if I'm not getting space, I'm going 4 wide, 1 back, and I'm creating my own space. I'm going to create a couple rub routes. I'm going to create slants. I'm going to run some tosses out there to create space. Create space.
Yes. I mean, you sit here and you watch the whole weekend. You saw teams who were successful in doing that. Matching up well, scheming well, and not just taking what they were giving, but creating for themselves what they wanted.
Exactly.
Right. That's what a good OC does. That's what they do is they find areas and exploit them. They don't just, take what's given. Oh, well, that. Okay, I guess we just got to keep. No, either you adjust or you lose.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw.
Yeah, and you think we know Miami is an outside team off tackle. They do have bursts in the middle, of course, when the line's there, creating holes and gaps. But Isaiah Pacheco, man, he ran north and south here. 89 yards there. 20. They didn't abandon the run. They knew, hey, you know what? We got to keep the ball on the ground here. Field possession game as well. Control the line of scrimmage. They did it. 24 carries for 89 yards, of course. This game here wasn't. We knew this game wasn't going to be a blowout. Like 50 in that situation. This was going to be a line of scrimmage game here. Who wants it the most? Old school, like Big Ten battle, what I'm looking at. And I tell you what, congratulations to the Chiefs there. But, man, this could have gone all the way. I really wish this was a little bit better weather for a little bit better game. But Miami had every option to win this game, honestly. They were not out of this game.
No, I agree with you. And you sit here and look at you add Edwards-Helaire in there, and that's 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Right on 100 yards rushing for the Chiefs, plus an extra 40 from Patty on 2, which is unconscious. Again, you just can't take that into account that the guy's going to run the ball twice and get 40 yards on 2 carries, and they're all play scramble.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, Rashee Rice, I think, is probably the story of the game, though, coming out of this game, right?
Exactly.
130 yards in the tutty. That's something to keep an eye out on, because now if they have weapons to go over the top or a threat on the outside, and he could be consistent, I think that's the one thing this team has been lacking without the cheetah there, So
I agree 100% on that one there. This game was not out of reach. I just think it was more game planning. But the one thing before we get on to the other game, man, we talk about Taylor Swift being the game. This is the first time I think I've ever seen Coach Andy Reid showcased more than Taylor Swift with that mustache. Did you see that mustache? Because hey, a mustache, the stash, right? We got to talk about that, correct?
Hey, listen, it's like Wilford Brimley, and then the burger, right? The cheeseburger.
Yeah,
that's who it is. It's those two guys. Those are like, I mean, you got the Selleck, obviously. I mean, we've talked about this a lot,
right?
I've talked about but no, but like the Tom Selleck is the classic kind of what I go a little bit more after, like the Magnum PI. It's a little bit pushier, but yeah, the Wilford Brimley, the Andy Reid, those guys got like the big walrus thing going on, and yeah, it was in full effect. Call it the Brimley, you know, diabetes Brimley.
My question, Phil. You know, I have a little, you know, once in a while I get the 5 o'clock shadow, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. I'm not the stash guy. I can't pull it off like you guys. You know, you guys are the guys out there pulling it off. I can't do that. But my thing is, you know, coming from someone that doesn't have a mustache, never have really. How did it get with icicles? I mean, where is that condensation coming off that mustache? Because Phil, I'll tell you what, man. I'm up here cold and I got some hair on my top of my head. You know, I don't get icicles like that. And this guy had a beard, and
he's a heavy breather. You start.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And now you get that hot air coming out of your nose, and it hits in like that condensation zone. It's like a temperate mix of like hot air, cold air, storm front. It's almost like lake effect weather happening right there on the mustache itself. You're seeing it in real time.
Stacey, she's a host of the Big Blue Power, talking to our New York Giants every Sunday at 11:30. She said it was not. We had a show. We were joking around about it. I tell you what, man, I don't know how it got icicles. I mean, you just put on a couple extra ounces off that mustache right there from those icicles. Wow.
Yeah.
All right,
listen,
Phil.
That's something that I call sweaty lip syndrome down here in Tampa. Mostly is why I have a mustache. I've never thought about icy lip syndrome. That's a new one.
Oh man, yeah, that's a big thing there. I mean, I've seen a couple memes out there with, you know, him on there already. But there's a game. Let's talk about this game. I know we don't want to talk about it, but we talked earlier about the Houston Texans rookie head coach, you know, getting off the bus properly, going to the, you know, the field, playing the game. Phil, elite roster, 53-man roster, top to bottom. Any team would want this roster.
One of the best.
And what in the hell happened?
Well, two things really. If you ask me, there's two main things. One, Dak Prescott was not ready to play that game for whatever reason. He looked scared, looked like a deer in headlights. He was not ready to play, and for some other reason, Dan Quinn decided to start playing zone defense out of nowhere.
Yeah,
this is not a zone defense team, and he decides to play the entire freaking game in zone.
Yep.
That's my full analysis.
Phil, I couldn't agree with you more.
They came back. They could have made a game of it if Dan Quinn would have made some freaking adjustments and could have stopped Jordan Love doing the same thing over and over again.
You know, Phil, you took every word out of my mouth. I'll take a little bit further here. Right from the jump of the game, you know, we know we're great at home. We know that everybody in the league knows how good we are offensive, defensively at home. Pick your poison, what you want to do first. Green Bay got the toss, took the ball, and said, you know what? We're going to go right downfield because we know if we get on top of you, this shouldn't be this way. We're going to get on top of you. Score 7.
Rodgers all over again.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I was texting in the group chat, you know, my Cowboy guys that we do the show with Dave and Matt. The first set of series, Phil, I've seen the glimpse of this when we played the Niners, picking and pointing to our defensive players. I don't know how many times I've seen one of our linebackers point when a guy's coming across the lane. You have him. Where am I going? You got him? Am I picking him up? Am I passing him off? What am I doing? Phil, I said, holy shit, this game is over. We don't know what we're doing. Exactly. Why do you play zone when you're a 11-man, hat on a hat, Dan Quinn football, and then you go and totally play? Just like we said, Phil, earlier, play to what got you here at 12-5, home field advantage, and you totally go 180 and play a different type of football to I don't want to say a lesser man team. I want to say a more hungry and a more coached, ready to go team this week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, what else can we talk about? Like, I want to get to the games this weekend. Like, and I know we don't have as much time as we'd like to have tonight because of family obligations. But I just say, like, we look up and down last weekend. Performances from head coaches and getting their teams to play up to or above their expected potential. And then we see Mike McCarthy at home, the biggest game,
franchise history right here,
career, almost right,
yeah.
And his best guy his number one MVP chanting crowd guy isn't ready.
Yeah.
The moment must be too big for Dak. I saw in the comments. Must be too big.
Ken Fry said the moment must be too big. I don't know. This guy's a $45 million franchise quarterback, elite conversation MVP. You know what? 12-5. That's not good enough for me when you don't go to this game here. And I blame Mike McCarthy. I blame Dan Quinn. I blame, more Schottenheimer too, because he's the sound in McCarthy's head there. But this goes to me in Dak where I got to an argument on our show with Dave. Not an argument, but he said Dak's numbers are great. Those were charity points in the last 7 minutes of the game. Those yards, 400 yards there. Those 200 yards came in basically the fourth quarter when this game was totally like no starters for the Packers. They didn't give a damn. But kudos to Packers, man. I tell you what, Jordan Love, you made an appearance, and man, you showed me something, brother. That a coach and a young QB,
coming out,
D'Amico Ryans, CJ Stroud. When you got a coach that puts you in positions, fundamentally game plans for you. And the other thing, Phil, before we go to the last game, we can move on here. I've never seen a team run more 12 and 13 personnel than the Green Bay Packers did with Dallas. They controlled it. You can beat Aaron Jones, but you know what? We're going to put that extra guy in there for him too. And then when you bring the extra guy down, and it doesn't help when you play zone and all these mid-level passes, it's pick your poison. I can run the ball.
Fadeaway passes. Are you going to let Jordan Love make 15 yards down the field that turn into 25, 30, 40-yard gains?
Embarrassing.
Before you switch to man coverage.
Embarrassing.
Like it reminds me of a game where I think Todd Bowles learned his lesson earlier in the season when the Bucs just got burned because we were in zone coverage all game, and he was trying to scheme and do something a little bit different. And ever since then, he's gone back to what he did. We could talk about it. One more than you're going to put online. He's going to bring one more. And that's what they did to the Eagles. And that's how they were effective, because that's what he knows. And that's what he realized as soon as he went back to that. Back-to-back shutouts to finish out the season.
100%.
Like
how about we move on? I know we're black for time here. We've got about another 35 minutes total left here. Let's talk about the Monday night game, because that is your team, Phil. Let's talk about them. I took the Eagles, and my thing was this. I'll say it really fast. I thought that how can this roster, but then again, I look at the Cowboys shit in the bed too, okay? 53-man roster, top to bottom, elite conversation, Super Bowl, team last year coming in here with this roster, this talent. How can you lose 6 out of 7? Boy, was I wrong when let's talk about coaching and putting players in a position to win this game. Once again, Phil, this is your team. I don't know what else to say, but Tampa Bay, 14 points were left on the board. Let's just even leave it at that. How bad we're right there.
Yeah. 2 uncharacteristic drops from Mike.
Man.
Very uncharacteristic, but looking ahead, that does, to me, knowing Mike Evans, that does not bode well for Detroit Lions fans. I don't care what you think about your team.
Sure.
Don't let Mike Evans have a bad playoff game, because the next one is not going to be bad. But that being said, I was sad. What it means for someone that grew up their entire life as a Cowboys fan to say they felt bad for Eagles fans.
Mm-hmm.
Even after watching the Cowboys do what they did, I still couldn't help but feel kind of bad for the Eagles fans, because that team is the least prepared team for a playoff game I may have seen in my entire life watching football.
Yeah, I mean, going back to coaching, it's angle tackling number one, but it wasn't even fundamental tackling for them. I get so pissed off, Phil, when I see an arm tackle, tackling with your head down, but it looked like Bradbury just was pulled up from the practice squad.
With position too, it wasn't just fundamentals as far as tackling, it was also position. They were so far out of position that you almost couldn't make those tackles. You know what I'm saying? Like that's me. And then again, that's scheming. That they couldn't do anything defensively to shut down the Bucs. Which what happens when you get quick, nimble guys, the ball in space?
Yeah.
Bake Show goes for 360, right? And he has 3 catches with 45 or 40 plus yards after the catch in that
all
game.
The yak yards, yeah.
Got guys the ball in space.
Agree.
So you could talk about missed tackles, but you also could talk about the way they executed a game plan.
Oh,
And
yeah.
whenever they were shutting down Godwin and when Evans wasn't necessarily himself, they were still able to execute their game plan and get their playmakers or their guys. And people I don't think are sleeping a little bit too much on the talent on this Buccaneers team.
Mhm.
It's a much more talented roster than a lot of people are willing to recognize. And especially on the defensive side of that ball, there's
Agree.
still a lot of Super Bowl winning players on that team. There are
Mhm.
still some veterans on that team. And I think their best free safety in football is on that team in Antoine Winfield Jr. So there's a lot of things on that team that people were taking for granted. But I hate to say it, the story of this game is Sirianni absolutely shitting the bed,
Yeah.
and Jalen Hurts once again looking overwhelmed. Like once again, he's looking overwhelmed. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I think,
we talk
Sirianni.
about
Yeah,
odds at the quarterback position. We could start right there in Philadelphia, if you ask me.
I agree. Sirianni,
I hate Dak
he's
way more than I trust Jalen Hurts right now.
yeah, Sirianni is just lost out there. I mean, you know what? With Dallas, if I'm hard on Mike McCarthy, but Sirianni takes the cake here. You got arguably DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, even Boston Scott off the edge there. Why not run the ball here? Take what the defense gives you. Short yardage wins games. 4x3 is my situation. That's a first down. Move the sticks. And Todd Bowles did exactly what he needed to do. Take what the defense gives you, create space, run the ball. You know what? The tight ends, we know the Eagles struggle against anybody in the second level. It's the tight end had so many opportunities. One missed ball for 7 yards, a 7-yard slant to the house. That was a missed ball. Evans, I feel sorry for the Lions. He's not going to have a back-to-back game like that. That was a give me 7 and walk in right there. But let's move on. We won't even really talk about the Lions game. How about we move on to next week since we're a little bit pressed for time here?
Yeah,
all right, let's go. Let's go to. I think the Cinderella story of the year right now. The Houston Texans are going to the #1 seed Baltimore Ravens here. How do we see this game, Phil?
Well, right now 9.5 is the favors on here, right? 9 and the minus 9.5. The over under 43.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm taking the over.
I am
on
too.
This game. And I think this is the game to take the over on. And I also, if you're going on lines, all I gotta say about this whole weekend is who let the dogs out? Because if you start looking at these betting lines, you better be taking the dogs this weekend. If you're just looking at points and over unders and all that, I don't know. These are some pretty big spreads here, but the question I have is, once again, we just got done talking about one fraud of a QB. We're talking about Lamar Jackson has one playoff win.
Yes.
One.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud already has as many playoff wins now as Lamar Jackson. Yeah. All right. Last year's MVP, a guy who just is unconscious with the ball in his hand. I'm not taking anything away from his skills as a football player at all. But as a quarterback that can win in the playoffs, I'm not as confident.
I agree. Regarding betting, I'm definitely going to take the over here. I mean, you know how I feel about Lamar Jackson. I'll tell you, I think he's a good quarterback, but there's a coach on the other side, D'Amico Ryans, who's played linebacker, who's played against, some fast franchise running back, quarterbacks that do what Lamar does. Damn well he's already pinpointed this, saying, you know what, I might not run a linebacker on Lamar Jackson. I might bring a safety down the block just to mirror his speed. Someone that, maybe he will get a couple yards, but you know what? He's not good. I'm going to contain him. He's not going to break my team. This is my upset of the week, Phil. I'm actually going Texans winning this game outright. I love how they're playing. House money. Listen, you've already beaten the Titans in your last game here. You already beaten the Cleveland Browns. Nobody thought you would do that. All eyes are on you. This is the team to beat because I don't believe Lamar Jackson is that QB that can beat you with the arm. CJ Stroud and his offense can come out. Nico Collins can put up points on you very quickly. Baltimore does not play from behind. They're not built that way. You can't. I mean, I know a quarterback can run, 100 yards any given time with Lamar Jackson, but that ain't going to happen every damn play. And he's not going to beat you with the arm. I mean, one playoff win, exactly what you said. One playoff win in his career.
Yeah. 3,600 passing yards this year, 800 rushing, 820 rushing yards. Okay, you like to offset that a little bit, and that makes a difference. But I still think that when it comes to playoffs, there's a reason I think that Colin Kaepernick isn't in this league anymore. All right.
Preach.
And it's because he was a one-dimensional quarterback. Okay.
Yeah.
Now Lamar Jackson is a much more athletic and talented human being than Colin Kaepernick is, was, ever has been. Okay. So that is, I think, what gives him the edge to still play in this league. But I think that once you get to a certain point, once you're easy to be made one-dimensional in the playoffs, that's it. The book's out. You know what I'm saying? As CMC, put the book out. You put the book out on them. You know, and I think with the depth that Houston has, their defensive line, you know, I think Greenard, 12 and a half sacks this season. That guy is doing work. That defensive line, I think they're going to be able to do it. And like you said, DeMeco Ryans a linebacker, is going to know how to get those guys lined up and to spy him correctly and defend him correctly and put the pressure on him, kind of like the Bucs did with Jalen Hurts, to force him to get the ball out quickly and you get him on the edge and basically just contain, right? Maintain contained on him and don't let him have those lanes to wiggle his way out of. All right. He goes and makes that crazy, 140 yard 20-yard scramble where he's like running backwards in a big zigzag figure eight. He does that once or twice. You can live with that. That's not going to win the game for you. It's not.
We always talk about, defenses, pinning your head back and not letting get behind you. Here's a situation where, you know what, you're not really worried about the wide receivers at this point. Lamar Jackson is that guy you can't let behind you. Hey, keep this guy in front of you. That's all I'm asking you to do. Drain the clock too, because, hey, you know what? Maybe you get 8 yards of carry, whatever, all game long here. But you know what? You're going to get pretty damn tired doing that as a quarterback, number one. And I hate to say this,
we have seen that from him in the past where third, fourth quarter, he starts to fade because he has had to put too much on his back and carry too much of it physically for himself.
And the big thing is, Phil, I don't want to discredit anybody in the NFL. Hell, it's my dream to play in the NFL. I give everybody the respect 100% they deserve. But the one thing I've always said, ever since he came out of Louisville, Lamar Jackson there, he's not the smartest tool in the shed, honestly. You think about this, I think he's really the 1 or 2 quarterback to wear the wristband in the huddle still. After a play is called, he calls the play, he reads it, not from memory. But once he goes up to the line, 85% of the time, he reads the play again for his brain. I don't want to say he's not all there, but when you're tired in that fourth quarter, those brain cells go away, brother, certain times, and you're not the smartest quarterback in the NFL to win a game with your arm. And that's great. I just don't know. But the only thing saving grace is Mark Andrews, I believe, is coming back with this game too. Correct?
Yes.
Which is a huge thing too. His best friend tight end. Yeah,
it is huge. But I think that we're still looking at overall Baltimore's defense is just. We can talk about Houston's defense and what they can do, but as good as Lamar is, that Baltimore team is still a defensively led team. As long as Harbaugh has been in Baltimore, that has been a defense first team. And I still think as much as DeMeco Ryans has been great and as much as CJ Stroud has been great, I think now you're going into Baltimore, into a team with a coach that knows what to do when he's there. This isn't a team I think that's going to be asleep in their own locker room. As much as, but I do still think that this is going to be a high scoring game in the long run. I do, like, as much as these two defenses are going to be a factor, they're going to have plays, obviously, that are going to make impactful, moments, flipping the field in key situations, especially for Baltimore. That's going to be, I think, the thing that tips the scale. But with these two quarterbacks, I think the dynamic ability that these two guys have in their own way, we're still going to see, two teams scoring 30 points here.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is just like we've seen in Joe Flacco game, turnovers. You turn the ball over, you're not going to have a shot to win this game. But going with what you said, Baltimore's defense is elite. We know that. It goes to show you that a defense wins championship when you have a quarterback. Let's go back to Trent Dilfer, that name there with the Baltimore Ravens. Won a Super Bowl with that guy. Nobody wants the guy, but he can manage a game 100%. You know what I mean? Right. exactly. You think about that there, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to go Texans here. I think I'm going to go 34-29 Texans this week. This is my upset of the week. I said it on the NFL Weekly Pick'em show. I rode with them last week, cashed out on that one pretty good. I'm still going to go with them. I believe in a rookie QB. He's playing lights out right now, and the kid has I guess people say cool as a cucumber. This kid is cool as a cucumber to me. He shows no limelight, no time in a situation where he can't handle. I like this kid. I really do. I'm going to go Texans. What's your score, Phil?
I think it's going to be a tight game. I think we're still looking at probably like 34-31. It's going to be a one possession game. I think. I really do. But it's going to come down to that defense in the fourth quarter that's going to make the play. I think.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Ken has Baltimore 24-29. I will go through the comments real quick before we get out the next game. Hey, Paul. Hey, Phil. How's it going, Eddie? Thanks for checking in, brother. The Baltimore's defense didn't look good against the Browns. They didn't, but I mean, this is playoff football. We'll see what the hardball situation, provides, because any given Sunday, any given Saturday, we know now is playoff football. I think C.J. Stroud, the defense will have C.J. Stroud with a couple turnovers. I agree. If they get him a turnover, it could be a different story there as well. Eddie says the Baltimore is still handicapped having the fraud Lamar. Eddie feels the same way I am about Lamar there as well. Like it. He has nothing to lose. Exactly. I don't think he's already proven his point as a rookie QB, 100%. The Baltimore defense isn't really good as Baltimore's. The Baltimore defense isn't really as good as the Baltimore defense that carried Dilfer. That's true too. I mean, that was elite. That was elite.
Jackson, fraud or not, Lamar Jackson is.
Yes.
Dilfer. Lamar Jackson off screen.
Yeah.
Right. That's the gap between those two quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, even the defense there. I mean, you had Ray Lewis. I mean, you had some nasty names on that team. Reed. Oh my God. Yeah. Ed Reed. Eddie's going with me. He's on, he's reading the lone wolf situation with me. He's got Houston 31-21. Yep. All right. So Phil, let's get into three games here really quick. We got about 15 minutes. We'll call it then. Kansas City, Buffalo. Spent about 5 minutes, 6 minutes on this game. What do you see here? What do you see?
I see a Kansas City team that is probably not prepared to go into Buffalo this season. That's what I see.
Wow.
That's what I see. I mean, I don't think the weather's a factor because obviously we're looking at two different. Eddie. All right, sorry, you're still going on the Dilfer thing. I think he was an underrated passer. I will say Dilfer was underrated as a passer, but anyways, let's move on. The weather isn't a factor obviously because these two teams know cold weather. That's not a thing, but right now, what we saw out of Josh Allen last week, that's the Josh Allen that you don't want to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, great.
Right, and that team plays very complimentary football, and we talk about how important that is in the playoffs. That's what Buffalo does well, and on top of that, we talk about the wide receiver issues. Eddie is absolutely right. We have one situation where they just. What do they have as far as their wide receivers?
Yeah.
One option and Kelsey. And I think that this Buffalo team is very well suited to match up against what Kansas City can bring offensively and vice versa. That's an underrated defense in Kansas City. I think they don't get enough respect sometimes, I think, but again, it's situational. They're complementary, and I think their offense does a lot to stay on the field and keep their defense off the field. So I think if you keep Kansas City's defense on the field, it's easy to expose. And I think that when you look at what the Bills are doing and what they've been able to do this season, late in the season, they're one of the hottest teams right now going in the playoffs.
I agree. I exactly what Eddie said. The wide receiver issue here is the point there. Kansas City's offense. When was the last time we said this offense was the downfall of this team struggling? We've always said this Kansas City team can score, keeping you games, blow you games out with Patrick Mahomes. Now it's a different situation here. The defense carries this team. They are the strong suit of this team. I mean, they're holding teams, of great players down to 12 to 20 points to win games. With this offense, yes, they can score 20. The wide receiver issues is the big point here. But the one thing is Buffalo plays one hell of a game here. They play to their strengths. Josh Allen is a running QB. Yes, we see he makes bonehead decisions at times, but that's with any player that's going to take the shot anytime they can. Running the ball is another running back to me. The biggest thing I want to say is this team really made a turn in the season this year when Joe Brady was called the OC. He took Josh Allen back to being Josh Allen. We know you're going to make mistakes, but listen, I'm going to put the ball in my best player's hands. Go win me the game.
Yeah.
You know,
if it wasn't for that play later in the game, and the timing of it, that Josh Allen run was the play of the weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
That's about as excited as I've been watching football that is not a team that I cheer for.
Yeah.
Consistently. That play was the man-child himself taking over the field and just being like, oh, did you just bump into? No, I'm sorry. Did you trip? Because you didn't hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quarterback
it tells you
bouncing off of him.
Yes.
Like a brick wall.
Yes.
And you're looking at a Kansas City team who does not get to the quarterback.
And the other thing, Phil, is while I was watching this game here, watching Josh Allen run the ball, when he got into the end zone, there was a flex there by Josh Allen. To me, that shows you, man, you know what? I'm back. You're ready to play football? I'm back. We're at home. I'm back. Exactly.
The road to the Super Bowl goes through Buffalo. And if you're in his mind, you know what I'm saying? I know they're not necessarily the seating wise, but in your mind, that's what you got to think. And you got to come to us, right? And right now.
And the other thing, Phil, I'll tell you, I was talking to my buddy today, before we move on a couple games here real quick. I was talking to my buddy today, and he was like, who has more to lose, Lamar Jackson going to the Super Bowl or Josh Allen? I said Josh Allen. He's been there 4 years with his contract. Everybody's been talking about you can't even win a playoff game. You can't get to the second round here. You get beat by Kansas City every year. Well, this is his time to play Kansas City and shut this up. Shut it up right now.
Yeah. We talk about what the environment's going to be like in this next game with Detroit and the Bucks, but man, it's going to be crazy in Buffalo.
Yeah, well, exactly. Let's move on to this game here. But I want to ask you a question really quick, Phil. I mean, you guys play in Tampa Bay. What's it going to be like playing in the cold in Detroit this week? I mean, how are you guys going to adapt to that? First of all.
You do know that they have a dome, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Phil, that was my laughter of the week. That was my laughter of the week.
That poor lady, man. One thing about Tampa Bay is that we're really laid back. And while we are very passionate about sports during game day, non-game days, we're golfing, we're boating, we're fishing, we're doing all the other great things, right? So we don't necessarily have the intense sports reporter depth that maybe a Philadelphia or a New York or even an LA might have. So sometimes you got to take guys off the bench or ladies off the bench for these pressers that are for big games. And maybe you get the weather person coming in to ask a question without really thinking about, they do play some football in domes in the NFL, right? So poor lady got set up for failure. Like if I saw, I can't remember, I was watching somebody and they're like, if it's me, I'm looking at my producer immediately and be like,
might be pranked.
Big middle finger for you, dude. Yeah. Not. Where were you on that one?
Yeah, I tell you what, Phil. I give so much credit to Todd Bowles the way he answered that because me, I like to have fun. I'm very outgoing. It's out of the box here. I would have said like, "Wow, you know what? What is your name again?" Oh, thank you. I did. I've never really thought about that. As soon as this press conference is over, I'm going to go to my team and tell them get an extra pair of socks.
Wait a second. What's the weather like? What's the weather like?
Exactly right.
Oh, shit. We're done here. I didn't even know. I got to get out of here.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Oh, blizzard. Oh my God. I got to tell them get him an extra jacket. Was that 20 seconds from the bus to the field? Right. We got to bundle up. That's going to really cause a problem.
Everyone wearing Bermuda shorts and flip flops.
Exactly right. We're going Jason Kelce with the flip flops in the stadium. Yeah. But oh man,
for a guy that we very much accused of having no emotion and no character and no personality, the last 2 or 3 weeks we've seen a side of Todd Bowles that I think is very welcome. Very welcome.
You ever played the Detroit Tigers? Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
maybe she was confusing the Lightning playing the Red Wings later on that evening, and
maybe that's what it was.
Maybe they're playing on ice. With Let's go Paul White.
I'm
Get him on skates, Todd, before
exactly.
they go to play.
This would have been a great one if Bill Belichick answered that. Like, I don't know if he would have said his famous statement. Next question. I think he would have took it to another level on that one, honestly. But Bill, let's get to this.
We all know what Mike Tomlin would have done. We all know what Mike Tomlin would have done.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Oh, yeah.
Stage left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, walk off, time off.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it.
What a matchup between these two quarterbacks, right? Like that's the storyline of the weekend. All the other things we have, Lamar, Mahomes, Allen. That's all cool. We've talked about those guys plenty. CJ Stroud, that's a great news story. But two previous number one quarterbacks, both on new teams, both coming off of wins. Only 6 guys have ever done that in the league ever. So we're talking about a really cool storyline and a team that basically in the Bucs has found their stride, found their swagger, found their quarterback, seemingly found their coach and offensive coordinator for the foreseeable future in a season where we were maybe hoping for 4 wins, right? Now we're going into a place in Detroit where that team is overlooking the Buccaneers right now. I'm telling you right now. They're
the funny thing you said that, Phil, watching that game where, when it goes to exactly show what you're saying there, because last week I did see one of the players say, who do you prefer? Oh, we're waiting to go back to Dallas. They're overlooking this, even though Dallas is already eliminated. They're overlooking this team right now, saying, you know what? We're either going to go to Niners or we'll get Green Bay. We're going. They overlooked this game, but Phil, I tell you what, with the talent of this team and a Ben Johnson, I tell you what, I just see this team. They're not scared. They put players in positions to excel. That spread game they have, running backs, Montgomery, of course, also Gibbs. I think they get it done but I think honestly this game is going to be high scoring. Lions give up points, stupid points too. Tampa Bay's defense is good, but I think they do score on this team. I'm gonna go high scoring on this game. Really, I want to see Baker Mayfield finally shut up everybody out there. I really do. As a fan, number one, I love the story, but I think the Lions are just a little bit too strong on the offensive side of the ball. I really do. That's what I'm going to go Lions. We'll keep it quick here. I'm going to go Lions. Man, I think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring. I'm going to go 36-29 this game here. I think it's 1 touchdown late.
Yeah. Once again, if you're looking at the spread, if you're looking at the line, it's a 6.5 point spread, and I think the Bucs cover that.
Okay.
I do. I think it's a 1 possession game. I don't think the Bucs quite have enough. I really don't. But I do. Again, this is a hard game for me to pick of all the games. Honestly, I think all the rest of the other 3 games are pretty cut and dry for me, pretty straightforward.
Okay.
But this one is tough for me because, yes, the Bucs struggle with some things that the Lions are good at, especially like Gibbs and the way that they run the ball. The Lions can do, but Montgomery. But I also know that Todd Bowles is just very, very good at scheming against quarterbacks situationally. And if he just knows that it's not necessarily, a season-long thing, I just have this one game for all the marbles. I'm nervous that Jared Goff doesn't still have the moxie to stare the kind of pressure that Todd Bowles is going to bring at him for 4 quarters in the face and not crumble. Whereas I've seen Baker Mayfield face that kind of pressure that Dan Campbell wants to bring and what the Lions want to bring. And I've seen that kind of, hostile environment. I've seen him succeed in those moments.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never really looked at it that way, but you're right. I mean, Todd Bowles is a defensive-minded guy. We know that. I think they're going to come off the edge to get pressure on Goff because he is a different quarterback in the pocket, out of the pocket. He doesn't. He can climb the pocket, but he's not that pocket quarterback to climb the pocket, to extend it, to look downfield. If they can get to him, it's a different story. But going on Baker's, part, Baker will take that time in the pocket. He'll take that hit to make that connection to that pass. He will take the hit. Goff is, once again, I don't want to discredit people, but Goff is a diva compared to Baker Mayfield in the pocket. He won't take that hit. He'll throw the ball away, or he'll take the sack and just, carry on to the next play. Baker, on the other hand, hey, you know what? I'm Baker Mayfield. I'm going to make the play downfield regardless whatever I do. I'm going to make that decision to make the play downfield or take the hit.
so two things real quick. We'll move on. And just
Mhm.
as a insider being here all season, two things. Baker has matured and learning when to take the sack.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's one thing. Okay, Goff. I think Goff will probably be pressured into not taking the sack once or twice, and it will cost them. Whereas Baker has learned, hey, I could trust my defense and I could trust my offensive coordinator that if I just protect the ball and go ahead and take the sack, or maybe take a 1 or 2 yard play versus trying to make a play right now, we're going to be still set up to win this game in the last possession, right? When it comes down to the last 4 minutes of the game, right? So to me, that's what the big thing is here, is that you've got a team that, and also what kind of was last week their Super Bowl? The Lions.
Ooh, wow.
They finally won a playoff game. Was it, you know what I'm saying? We've seen that happen in sports.
That's true.
For time memoriam, right? In all different sports, football, hockey, basketball, you win that one playoff game or that one round, or you beat that one opponent, and you're like, and then suddenly you got that freaking sleeper team that you come in and it's a trap game, and you're not quite ready because you.
And that's a great point, Phil. That's a great point what you said there. Last game wasn't their Super Bowl. You Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, quarterback for quarterback here.
And they almost lost that game too. Let's not forget the fact that was a much closer game than anyone is acting like this week. Okay. Yeah. That was a very close game.
Huge game. 24-21, I believe. It was insane. Insane game.
Last possession.
But I just want to say this last week. I think Detroit played not to lose, didn't play to win that game. And they almost let the Rams back in that game. I tell you what,
if they do that again this week,
it could be a different story. Definitely,
Baker and Mike Evans are not. Listen, the Rams are still a good team, but I still don't think they have the weapons that the Buccaneers have offensively. I think the Buccaneers have one of the most talented receiving cores in the NFL right now. In the playoffs, they still have probably, if you look at it position for position, who has two wide receivers like the Bucs do, and Godwin and Evans right now?
Yeah, and the other thing too is Baker Mayfield makes plays happen. He continues plays too with his legs too to get out of the pocket.
And Rachaad White continues to run the ball effectively and timely and get those runs right when they need them. So, like I said, this is a tough one for me.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to pick against them, but I still think I don't know. I can't listen. I got to bow out on this one. I can't.
Sounds good.
I got to bow out on this one.
Well, let's say this way: they cover the spread in your eyes. Right?
Yeah, I definitely think they cover the spread, and I think it goes over as well.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's move on to this game really quick. We'll spend about 5 minutes here, and we'll get out of here because we both got some family things. I already got a text message. Pick someone up at a basketball practice in 15 minutes. So I'll just blame the snow on that one real quick. But wow, Green Bay, house money, nothing to lose here, going against the San Francisco 49ers. And one thing I want to say about the Niners: 100% completely healthy.
Healthy.
Yes. Healthy.
Yeah. That I don't think we need to talk.
No, I don't think so either.
That, honestly, because it's the most dynamic team in the league.
Yep.
Both sides of the ball.
Yep. 100%. Healthy is the key word here. I understand maybe they played last week. There was a couple banged up players here, but CMC, man, he's healthy. Debo's healthy. Brock is, got it in his head, ready to go this year from last year where they are now. Shanahan's not one of those cats that say, Shanahan's not one of those cats that say, guys, we're just going to go in and win the game. Shanahan's already sitting in that film room, play by play with all the teams. This is what we're going to do. We get in this situation. This is what we're going to go to. Audible out, elbow in. 100% ass kicking right here. I think the Niners roll. I'm going to go 41-14 this game right here.
Yeah. This is the only one I think where you just can't.
Yeah.
The dog isn't the dog. They're not going to 9.5, even 9.5. I don't think you take.
I'm taking Niners minus 9.5. I'm taking Niners 9.5. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm 38-14. Yeah. 42. Like it's going to be walking away. It's going to be the only, like back in the day, they talk about how it used to always be with the 2 bye weeks in each division, the divisional round or each conference divisional round was always blowouts, right? Because you had the team coming off of bye week. Like we haven't had that recently. The divisional rounds have been a lot better because they've gone to only one team with the bye week and they've been way more competitive, wild card weekend and all. But yeah, it's walking away. The Niners, it's not even going to be close.
Yep.
It's just going to be a display of Brock Purdy being like, hey, middle fingers to everybody out there.
Yeah, I had 2 bad games and you called me no MVP. Watch what happens now. That's what's going to happen.
Double single finger salute for you
Exactly.
guys.
Exactly.
Me and Shan here are going all the way.
Right. Alex checks it. Alex went to high school together many moons ago. Niners all the way, gets revenge on the Ravens. All those turnovers don't happen again. I agree with that 100%. But hey, Phil, before we get out of here, man, I know this is one, close to our hearts here. How about you talk about this?
Hey, don't forget, all you coffee fanatics out there, Monkey Cult Coffee, our guy Matt, you guys built this from the ground up. All proceeds go to the National Children's Cancer Foundation. Every time you buy something from them, it helps the children. It helps find ways to help solve and cure cancer. monkeycult.com, OOTB Sports for your promo to get your discount on all the coffee, bourbon chocolate chip, toasted coconut. They got a new honey agave, cold roasted bean Sumatra, amazing rum cake. Like, I could go on forever, baby.
Big time. And also we're not just sponsors here. Of course, I know you have a promo code too as well, correct, Phil?
That's right.
What's that promo code just for the visitor out there as well?
Yeah, that's Stash10 also. STACHE 10.
Awesome. Also, reach out to Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123, Attorney Big Al, motor vehicle accident, slip and fall, workman's comp, personal injury claims, 3 convenient locations throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey. First in New Jersey, over there, it's Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 3 Greensward Lane. Also in the great state of Pennsylvania, we got Philadelphia, PA, the city of brotherly Philadelphia Eagles fraud teams, 1628 JFK Suite 2120. My neck of the woods, Pittsburgh, PA, 500 Grant Street, 2900. Reach out to Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123. We take your case. 33 and 3% guaranteed out of the box right there. No recovery, no fee. So make sure to reach out to him. And last thing I want to say is, Phil, thank you once again for joining this week. We'll do it again next week if you're available. Also, guys, when I asked Phil about his promo code there, reason why I say that is because we're family here. Of course, it's a great sponsorship that we have with Matt from Monkey Cult Coffee. And number one, no matter where you order from, it goes to one hell of an organization, the National Pediatric Foundation for Cancer. We don't care where it goes. Just continue to pay it forward. Get it out there, because we all know someone that's been affected with that situation. So it's a great foundation, great company, and great man who does that. All that, Matt and Monkey Cult Coffee.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right, Phil, I appreciate it, brother. Stay warm out there. I don't want the weather to affect you down there. Some people might say vice versa in Detroit. So you stay warm down there. I'm going to deal with my cold. So my name is Paul Spencer. That is Phil Haney. We'll be back next Friday night, 7 p.m. to talk about the conference finals.
Here we go.
And until then, guys, have a great weekend. Stay warm. And if your team's still in it, wish you well. Until then, see you guys later.